Philly born and bred Malik Rose, my former broadcast partner, now the vice president of basketball operations for the NBA's G League. His idol, former 76er Charles Barkley. Barkley once appeared at a basketball camp where Rose was a staffer. Malik was asked to make Charles peanut butter and jelly for lunch. Once Rose got into the league, Barkley remembered.
And then my rookie year in the league, Charles was playing in Houston, and he remembered me. So I check into the game. Charles is, on the wing, backing me down. He's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. You're that kid from Philly." And he, he bumps me and he turns. He's like, "You make a hell of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, though." And got me.
More laughs and memories with Overbrook and Drexel grad Malik Rose next on Fresh 24. Malik Jabari Rose, Vice President of Basketball Operations for the NBA G League, former NBA and G League executive, former second-round pick, two-time champion with the Spurs, Drexel great, Overbrook great, great husband, great father, and a great former broadcast partner. Malik Rose, welcome to Fresh 24.
My man, Zoo. Thanks for having me. Great to be here, buddy.
By the way, do you still have that cheesesteak place in San Antonio?
No, I don't have it. Kind of gave all the stuff to my nephew. He's running Philly's Famous of San Antonio. Check him out on Facebook, Philly's Famous spelled with a PH. He has all the stuff down there in South Texas. He's doing well.
Have they acquired a taste for cheesesteaks?
Yeah, he's actually been on a lot of the, they have a lot of award shows or whatever down there, culinary events that he participates in throughout the year. He has a food truck park in, I know it's near Sac College. And then he has like 3 food trucks that he disperses all around South Texas, be it Austin or, New Braunfels or whatever. But the cheesesteak is getting well represented by my nephew, Bobby. My nephew is like my cousin Bobby down in South Texas.
Nice. Well, you're making me hungry, so let's move on. Dude, I got to get right into it, okay? Caitlin Clark, it's all we're talking about. It's a basketball story. It's a woman's story. It's a race story. And just for background, Clark, she is white, top pick in the WNBA draft. She had a storied college career. We're talking about the Chennedy Carter flagrant foul. We're talking about the Angel Reese flagrant foul. We're talking about Asia Wilson, I'll say, implying that Clark's popularity is tied to her being white. What's going on here, in your opinion?
Too much, Zoo. Too much is going on. All the things you said in the beginning. It's a race story. It's a basketball. Is this? Is that? My thing. It's a basketball story. A lot of the stuff that you said and people said, yeah, it may be true. We all know the world, the country we live in, and the world we live in. But the bottom line is this girl can play. She's got game. I enjoy watching her. I think she, along with everybody else, all the other stars in the WNBA, are going to do great things for the WNBA. And unfortunately, the stuff we're hearing about is taking away from the basketball, whether it's true or, we need to lean into it more or not. The thing is, I've watched more WNBA basketball than I've watched in the last 10 years, this last 2 years or whatever, so it's like the sport is growing. I work on the same floor with the WNBA folks, and their staff is growing because they have so much work to do at the league office. And these are good things that are kind of being overshadowed by some of the secondary and tertiary things that comes along with it. But as I said, this is and should continue to be a basketball story. The girls got game, and, people are going to tune in to watch.
So if Caitlin Clark is black, are these issues even issues? Are there the flagrant fouls? Is there the controversy?
Probably not. And I won't say that just anecdotally. If you go back to when Candace Parker came out, Same. I didn't, we don't have to delve into it, but I'm sure you're a basketball savant. Candace Parker came out, new pretty girl on the block and doing all this stuff. Candace had game national championships. The day after the national championship, she got drafted and went to the WNBA, and she got beat up her first couple of years. I mean, I remember seeing that. Candace Parker was the new shiny toy in the WNBA and the next greatest thing. And everybody in the WNBA tried to, introduce her, quote unquote, to the WNBA every game she played her rookie year. And she got hit a lot harder than what I've seen Caitlin Clark get hit. But again, I didn't make the world we live in. I'm just living in it. All know what that's about, and it's cool. We've been dealing with it for years, but I'm telling you from fact, it happened before, and it's nothing new. So Caitlin will be okay.
And the WNBA has to be saying, this is kind of good. All the eyeballs and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, things are hard when you get scrutinized in the public, and with the Olympic thing and all that, and then the upgrading of common fouls to flagrant fouls. All that stuff makes life a little bit more difficult for WNBA leadership. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we have more eyeballs tuning into WNBA games than we've ever had, and I think that's the story that should be told from this.
All right, let's tell the story of you working backwards, vice president of basketball operations for the NBA G League. What does that mean?
It's a long-winded title. That means I get to watch a lot of basketball for free. No, I've been really fortunate, and my story. So I mean, you go back way before I was in the booth or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I've always been able to call basketball my job, and the best part about that is it's not work for me. It's just something that I love. So I'm getting paid to do something that I love. So, my role here at the NBA and the G League is no different. I was vice president of basketball ops for the NBA, and I still do a lot of those duties as Byron Spruill, the president and head of basketball ops, Joe Dumars. They've really been gracious in allowing me to kind of have like a dual role. I do some work with them, but my primary role at the NBA League office is head of basketball ops for the G League, and that pretty much just entails everything that goes into the day-to-day operation of running the G League, be it the games, the scheduling, fines, contracts, discipline, referees, travel, and all that type of stuff. So anything that goes into the day-to-day operation of running the G League, my team and I handle on a day-to-day basis.
Got to be something, I don't know, weird, funny, strange along the way, just in terms of, something that happened at a game one night and ... Can you relay at least one story in that regard?
Well, I mean, not off the top of my head. I'm sure there are. But The funny thing for me is I remember when the G League the D League at the time was first introduced to the NBA. And players like myself, we wanted nothing to do with it. Like, all we heard was minor league. There's no way I'm going to get demoted, from going to the NBA to the G League, into the D League. And now the G League is kind of like the preeminent pathway to the NBA, not only for players, but for coaches, medical staff, PR staff. The G League is quickly becoming, and thanks to some great leadership, we're going to be the farm systems for our NBA teams. This past year with the Phoenix Suns getting their own G League team, the Valley Suns, has just been announced a couple of weeks ago. We're now at 31 G League teams. Mexico City is an independent, but we now have we have all our 30 NBA teams have their own G League team. So we have a one-to-one relationship in that regard. And that's a long way from where we came back in the early 2000s, where, we only had about, 15, 20 teams, and the NBA teams kind of had to share the G League teams. Now they all have their own G League team, their own farm system, so to say. So we're looking, to just go from there. That was one benchmark. And now what's next is what we're focusing on right now.
You've worked for NBA teams in the front office. Obviously, the goal there is to build a winning team, yet everybody thinks they have an idea as to how to do it. What's it like in a front office, whatever your role is, having to sort of marry all these different opinions and get everybody on the same page and decide, all right, this is the direction we're going?
That's one of the fun parts of the job, Zoo. When I was on the team side, it was great. Eventually going to get back there. But for right now, I'm at the league office and loving every second of it. But on the team side, it's kind of, I look at it as kind of the microeconomics, where like, the team is the focus. When you're working on the league side, it's like macroeconomics, where the league, all 31 or 30 NBA teams are the focus. So a lot of the decisions we make, a lot of the work we do has to, be set up and designed so it comes out as the greater good for all teams, not just the greater good for the Philadelphia 76ers or one team you may be working for, which is the case on the team side.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a little bit more about the Sixers later. And speaking of winning, your time with the Spurs, 2 of the 5 NBA titles. I want to know the secret to their sauce. But again, working backwards, you, for some reason, chose to work 4 years with me on TV. I think I had the years right, 2011 to 2015. Could you find anything better to do?
Not really, man. Not really. The process Sixers, that was where it was at, man. And it's funny. We joke about that a lot, but that was actually one of the most fun periods of time I ever had in basketball. And I mean, I don't have to tell you, but the fans, like, we were commentating on the process 76ers, who were designed or put together to lose games. So that made it kind of challenging, as Zoo would always call it. Sometimes we'd be selling Kool-Aid by the end of the first quarter.
We'd be drinking the Kool-Aid by the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, but it's like,
bro, do you know every year you worked with me, the team got worse?
I know. I don't know what it was, man. I came in, we were in the playoffs. We beat Derek Rose.
Yeah, Derek Rose, or the Chicago Bulls minus Derek Rose at the end there, right?
Yeah, so it just went downhill from there. But what I always tell people is, even though we were, commentated some tough games, I had so much fun because our crew, me, you, Nikki, Gumi, everybody, Sean, we were just Philly fans. So me coming from San Antonio, where everybody was a Cowboys fan, or and all the Houston Astros and all that, coming up to the cradle of all Philly sports, and we when we went to dinner or we went out on the road, we were always talking sports, and it was great, man. I had so much fun during those 4 years.
You just mentioned Cowboys, and I got to get your take on the Birds, but that's coming up later. So
yes, sir.
Formulate some of your thoughts. Speaking of the process years, 19 and 18 wins respectively for the 2 years that we were together for that. In retrospect, the way Sam Hinkie built the team, collecting expiring contracts, first round picks, and yes, losing, your thoughts in retrospect?
I understood what he was doing. And that's because, the rules in the NBA, the collective bargaining agreement, makes it tough to win in this league without an all NBA guy. Win being like compete for a championship. Like, anyone can win games and maybe get into the playoffs or now the play-in and stuff. But to actually have a chance at contending and winning a championship, you have to get very creative. Now, I wouldn't have gone that way. I would have gone a different route. That's not to, throw shade at Sam or anything. I just would have done it a different way. But I do understand what he was trying to do. And just in short, he was just trying to maximize the chances he had at getting a difference maker, getting a star like a Joel Embiid. So, I get what he was doing. I didn't really like it. That's our hometown team and all that stuff. And, now we're forever going to be, linked to the process. But right. I understood what he was doing. And, I recognize it as his honest attempt to build a winner in Philly.
Back to your role as my broadcast partner and being a member of the media, I'm sure you had, and listen, you were always very gracious and cooperative with me, and I'm sure in general as a player with the media. But once you got on the other side, what did you think of the media and how it treated players when you were a player?
Well, when I was a player, I mean, it was just different. Not like, one era or one time was different than the other. I didn't grow up in the age of social media, so I didn't grow up under the microscope of everybody, seeing what people were saying about me. I mean, if you read the newspapers, maybe if you kept up with MySpace or whatever in the early 2000s, maybe you had a taste of what people were saying about me. So I say that because I didn't really care what people thought about me. Hell, when I was at Drexel and I was an All-American, the local media, Angelo Cataldi, my man, I love him to death. I thought, he had one of the greatest shows in Philly for decades. He killed me. I never thought I would make it to the NBA. And, it was cool. That was his job. And he, a lot of days he might have been right. But my whole point is I didn't grow up under the same set of pressures or circumstances as, modern athletes today. So I can't really say, whether what they're feeling or, what they're doing, what they're doing in response to like this whole new media thing is right or wrong. All I can say is, I dealt with what was given to me at the time. I had a great relationship with all the media people. Like I said, even, the ones that didn't speak so highly about me, and I just didn't take things too serious. And if it's something the modern athlete can take from me, I would say that's the biggest thing. Not saying the way they're doing things now is wrong. They have their right to feel however they want to feel. But, late 40s Malik talking to you, it's not that serious. Get over yourself. Just enjoy it because it's going to be over before you know it.
You're late 40s, bro.
Yeah,
you're steamrolling your way to 50 before the end of the year, but that's just me talking a little bit. I do remember you making a lot of popular culture references. Do you remember that on the air? You did that all the time. It cracked me up. And quite frankly, I had nothing to say because I know nothing about popular culture. What made you decide that and by the way, that made you a real big hit with our fans?
I think that's thank you. And you picked up on more than you thought, man. Like,
yeah, you think?
Yeah, you were there, man. So stuff Malik says, we'll say it like that. Stuff Malik says was pretty popular, and it was just, it was just me being me, but where it kind of came from. I mean, you were always, like my biggest cheerleader. Just be yourself. I'm new on the air and I'm speaking fast. And the two things I remember, like JR used to always say, Malik, speak in periods, don't speak in commas. So it's basically slow the hell down.
Yeah,
and
right.
You, Nikki, and Sean used to always just say, hey, listen, the best commentators are just themselves. It's just like two guys talking. And the more you can be yourself while educating the fan and talking about basketball, the better off you're going to be. So when I stopped trying to be a commentator and just was just being Malik talking about basketball, Stuff Malik Says was born.
And it was great stuff. And let's continue to be a couple of guys talking.
Yeah.
And I got a lot to talk to you about. More on your career as an NBA player. Thoughts on our local squad, the Sixers in particular. Charles Barkley announcing his retirement. I want you to weigh in on that because I know you're a big Charles guy. And, of course, we're going to talk about the Eagles and probably a question or two about the Spurs and their culture and what made them so great. But first, it is now halftime, my friend. And that means the first part of our halftime is the Garage Beer 6-pack of questions. It is brought to you by Garage Beer, beer-flavored beer. Find some near you at drinkgaragebeer.com. By the way, the Kelsey brothers now very involved with Garage Beer. Yeah. All right. I'm going to give you a choice between two things. You just blurt out the answer. Don't think about it. Just blurt. You ready?
This is dangerous, but let's go.
All right. Cheesesteak or soft pretzel?
Cheesesteak.
Center City or South Jersey?
Center City.
Gritty or Philly Fanatic?
Oh, the Philly Fanatic.
Thank you. This is not brain surgery here. Meek Miller, Hall & Oates.
Oh.
Blurt.
Meek Mill, but that's close.
Thank you. Dr. J or Allen Iverson throwback jersey.
Come on, Zoo.
Stop and let's go.
Dr. J.
Thank you. Liberty Bell or Rocky Steps?
What'd you say?
Liberty Bell or Rocky Steps?
Rocky Steps.
Thank you. The 6-pack of questions brought to you by Garage Beer, beer-flavored beer. Find some near you at drinkgaragebeer.com. And now into my music library I go. A handful of artists for you. You tell me if you have them. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Alabama Shakes.
I do not have that.
Bang Gang.
I wish I had that.
You'd recognize one of their songs. I like to move it, move it. I
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
to
yeah.
move it.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
NWA,
Of course, I have it.
of course.
Yes,
Diana Krall.
I do have it.
Marcus Miller.
Marcus Mills, that Return of the Mac?
He's a jazz host on Sirius XM, also a
That is not
musician.
Return of the
All
Mac. I
right.
do not have
All
him.
right. Well, I think you got 2 out of 5. We'll call it 3 out of 5. That was pretty
Okay.
good. Who are the musical go-tos for you? Say, I mean, I don't know what you had back in the day to put over your, I guess, headphones, right?
Yeah.
Who are you listening to before a game to get you started?
Yeah, you would have to definitely say, is it date night or is it game night or is it chill night? Game night, it was definitely, you said NWA, but I also had a lot of Public Enemy. So NWA, Public Enemy, that was more so in high school and college. And then when I got to the pros, I had a lot of Jay-Z. I had a lot of Rough Riders. Like I never really had to get hype before a game. That was natural, but that got me, I guess, more hype, just some of the music and the stuff I used to listen to back then.
You were in quite a draft class, 1996, Allen Iverson, the late Kobe Bryant. Of course, you were several years older than Kobe, who came right out of high school. Give us a Kobe memory or two if you got them.
Man, talk about, gone too soon. But I do remember one, going to the draft workouts, like the Chicago Draft Combine with them. And that's where I first saw, he became legendary for during his career about his confidence and, his swag and how he just knew he was the best. And it didn't happen when he got to the NBA. It happened before he got to the NBA, because I remember him walking through the airports when we got picked up at the airport. He wasn't like conceited, but it was teetering right there. But he just knew, like, he wasn't afraid going up against Stackhouse or Ray Allen or any of the guys, that were, coming in the NBA or coming into the NBA as he was. He just knew he was going to be the best. And when I saw him that weekend at the draft combine in Chicago, it kind of, it stood out. And then another memory I always remember is when we ended their three-peat. They had won we won the championship in '99. Then the Lakers won the next 3. And then when we ended that three-peat, I just remember giving him a hug on the court. He was in tears, but we saw each other. We walked, dapped each other up, and congratulated each other. And he congratulated me on being part of the winning team, and I congratulated him on such a great run, winning 3 championships in a row. But that was a special moment, and the moment I remember.
Ever meet on the playgrounds with him or a league or anything like that?
Nah, never. I remember, Sunny Hill stuff or, Hotel Top to Bellevue, certain runs there, but I never played against them in the playground. Just in the NBA, man. I just remember there was like my whole stretch in San Antonio, my 8 years in San Antonio, it was either those guys winning it, the Lakers, or us. And it's just, he and Shaq were just special competitors. And I just have a lot of great memories from those battles, those 8 years.
You mentioned the Spurs. Let's talk about them. 5 NBA titles. You were there for 2 of them. Besides a Hall of Fame coach, Greg Popovich, of course, he had 3 Hall of Famers. Tim Duncan actually and Pop were there for all 5. Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili for 4 of the 5. What else besides their talent, their cohesiveness, their teamwork, their willingness to forego their own egos for the common good? What else was in the secret sauce?
Yeah, if I knew that, like, I would bottle it and sell it, Zoo, real talk. But I think you kind of alluded to some of them. The 2 biggest things are, as JR would call them, trio grand. The thing, I think the common denominators their humility and their sacrifice. And some of the things that I still kind of stand on today. Pop was, beating it in our heads, for decades. It was just, it's not about you, and don't skip any steps, always be prepared, things like that. The little things are kind of, it may not be the secret sauce, but it's an ingredient in the secret sauce, just to be mindful of the little things and to not skip steps. And then I think, like you said, it just like a humble humility these guys have about them. Humble and hungry is kind of what I would say it is. Humble and hungry.
How do you find that in a player as a team exec?
There are many ways you can find it, and many ways it can exhibit itself. But I think the common denominator, if we're going there, is you have to care about something other than yourself. One of the biggest things, we weren't always one of the most talented, the group with the most talent in the NBA. But we were on a lot of occasions, even the times when we didn't win the championship, we were the best team. We cared the most about each other. We sacrificed the most. It was one thing I loved about my time in San Antonio. It wasn't anything else like that mattered except winning. The only thing that mattered was winning, not how many TV commercials you had, how many off the court endorsements you had in today's society, how many likes or how many followers you have. It was not about any of that. It was only about the San Antonio Spurs win, and everybody bought into that. We were all kind of rowing in that same direction, which made it easy for us to achieve the things we achieved because we had that team mindset. We cared about each other, and it started with oddly enough, our superstars, Tim and Dave to start. Like, they had the cachet to be jerks, to be absolute idiots, to the media and terrible teammates. But they were some of the best people in the world. And, when your best players are the best people and the best workers, kind of makes it easy for everybody else to fall into line.
What do the 76ers have to do to build a team around Joel Embiid that could at least get to the conference finals, if not win it all?
I think that's kind of unfair to the leadership there. And I don't know Daryl Morey like that, but I'm close friends with the old school Chevy, my man EB. So, knowing the shoes or the line of work he's in, it's tough to say what do they have to do to put a winning team around him, because I think in a lot of instances over the last 4, 5, 6 years, they've done that. They've put a team around him to definitely get past the second round, but people seem to, forget the extenuating circumstances sometimes, like injury. There were plenty of times. I mean, injury plays a part in how far you go. And the other thing is, like, sometimes it's just matchups. Like, they're just matchups. Like, you just do not match up well with a certain team and you just can't beat them, but you keep running into them every year. I mean, the Lakers were a good team this year. If they run up against anybody except Denver, with that guy in the middle, they had zero answers for. Maybe Darvin Ham still has a job right now. You know what I mean? So it's just like injuries and matchups dictate a lot of what's going to happen with the team. So even though they haven't gotten past the second round yet, I do think the Sixers management over the last several years has done a great job surrounding Embiid with enough to contend and compete to get past the second round. It just hasn't happened yet.
Joel Embiid, 30. We've talked about injury. Certainly has had more than his share of misfortune over the years. How small is the window for him? Or how big?
Yeah. I mean, it's dwindling with every day, of course, but I think his window, I mean, easily, I would guess, if I'm, where Daryl and EB are right now, I think 4, 5, 6 years. I mean, he has had a tough go of it with injury, but, those guys hired some of the best minds on the medical side, the performance side, and, it's going to take some time. They've been getting better. This past year, maybe it took a step backwards, but I know that's something that leadership team, that management team is going to continue to work on and strive to correct. So when you're dealing with a talent like that with Embiid, man, he's just so gifted. And, it's a different NBA now. So I say that because players can play longer in today's NBA. So even though he is 30, 30 is the new 26 in the NBA, the new 25 in the NBA. So I think that window is still wide open from a health standpoint. And then when you add in his talent, got a chance. He's got a chance.
Back to you coming up in Philly. I know Charles was your guy, right? Charles Barkley. What did you admire about him?
I don't know. I think it's just because that's the guy I most closely resembled, I guess. I was an undersized power forward, whatever. And, tried to make, I was a rebounder, tried to make the most of it. He had a little bit more talent than I had on the offensive end.
Just a skosh.
Just a skosh. But no, I just love Barkley, being a kid growing up and really falling in love with the game on the heels of Dr. J and, on the toes of Charles Barkley. I loved them. And then, I always told you this story, but, real quickly, I used to work in the Sixers camps when I was in high school, and Charles Barkley came up, and he and Rick Mahorn, they were speaking to the camp one day. And I had to make them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because they didn't like what we were serving on the menu for lunch. So me and a couple other members, we made about 15 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and they inhaled them all. And then funny story, so that was like I think my junior year in high school. And then my rookie year in the league, Charles is playing in Houston, and he remembered me. So I check into the game. Charles is, on the wing, backing me down. He's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. You're that kid from Philly." And he bumps me and he turns. He's like, "You make a hell of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, though." And and I just, I couldn't believe, one, I was in awe because I'm guarding my idol, but then two, he remembered the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches I made this summer camp.
And he remembered while he's backing you down?
He was playing me. He was kind of trash talking. He was like, "Yeah, you that kid from Philly. I remember you from Sixers camp. You went to Drexel. You had a hell of a career. You make a hell of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich." It was great.
As you're taking the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, as I took it out of the net and then bounded it, man. It was great.
Listen, he says he's going to retire from broadcasting after next season. Your thoughts?
Sad day in broadcast history, man. I think that guy, and I talked about it earlier. I became, who I was, and stuff Malik says was born because I was just being myself. I think if anybody, epitomizes just being yourself on the air, it's that whole inside the NBA stuff, inside the NBA crew on TNT, led by Charles Barkley. A lot of times, him saying whatever comes to mind got him in trouble. Him doing whatever comes to mind got him in trouble. But one thing you could never fault Charles Barkley for was not being original. So I really loved it. I thought he made for great TV night in and night out, speaking from the heart, speaking honestly, and speaking from an extremely experienced point of view basketball-wise. I'm going to be sorry. I'm going to be sad seeing him go.
All right. One of our favorite topics, EAGLES. A lot of offseason emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. A couple of free agent linebackers drafting in the first 3 rounds on the defensive side, though they did add one of the more exciting players in the league on the offensive side in Saquon Barkley. Malik Rose, huge Eagles fan. Your thoughts?
I'm so excited. Even if they hadn't done all the stuff they did in the draft and free agency and all that, I still would be excited because I think we have a great team. I love those guys, man. Bleed Eagle Green, always have and always will. I think we're going to have a great season. This is the year I think we can get it done. I love the secondary moves. I don't know that the linebackers just as much yet, but I'll know them by the end of the preseason. Trust me, and I'll have a better feel for it. The only thing I'm worried about right now, and I think it'll be okay because I think Jalen is just the ultimate professional, and maybe he was caught off guard with the whole recent Sirianni questions or whatever, the way he answered them. If the head coach and quarterback aren't on the same page, that can spell doom for a season. That's like a coach and a point guard not being on the same page. But I think both of those guys are super professionals, and they're going to get past that and enter camp on the same page, set the bar high, and set the example for what kind of season we're going to have, and it's going to be a great season. Can't wait for it.
Any concern about the leadership vacancies left by Jason Kelce or Fletcher Cox?
Absolutely. I was glad to see we still have BG. He's going to hang around another year, but losing we're 2 guys in the trenches, one on each side, our leaders there. It's scary. And I know they're still going to be around though. And they're going to hopefully stick around, maybe even stand on the sidelines with us, come to practice or whatever. But losing leadership like that, you can't replace those guys. But I think collectively the team can work together to minimize those losses as much as possible. But those 2 guys are irreplaceable.
As I alluded to earlier, you're coming up on 50 in November.
Yeah.
Where do a man's thoughts turn to when you're approaching a milestone like that?
Where have my thoughts turned to at 50? I mean, I think my thoughts kind of changed, 14 years ago, 14 and almost 15 years ago, like when I had kids. My thoughts changed then. And it was always, we were always brought in the mindset, it's not about you, it's not about you, it's about the team. But when I had kids, it was not about you, it's about these damn kids. How are you going to take care of them, provide for them, and set them up for life? So my mindset at 50 is to keep going on, what I started 15, 16 years ago, and put them in the best position to succeed in life, when my time is done. That's what I'm focused on mostly at 50.
You're not still hooping in some old man men's league, are you?
I'm hooping with my son right now, man. I wish I could.
Are you?
I wish I could find a men's league because I would play. I miss playing. I'll never play at the level I played before, but I would love to continue getting up and down the floor somewhere up in North Jersey. If there are any leagues, hit me up on what is it? Well, I'm on Instagram or Facebook, official Malik, one of the two. Okay. But anyway, my son finally, and because I used to lament to you for years how my son never loved basketball. He could not care less about basketball his first 10, 11 years in life. He's 13 now. Right. So a couple years ago, I told you he hit his first shot in this little AAU league. He's in this neighborhood league. And he fell in love with it. He kind of got the bug. So for the last 2.5 years, my son has been just consuming basketball at every turn, and that's been I'm like a kid in a candy store, man. I'm like coach. I'm assistant coach on the team, and we get our individual workouts in, and just the fact that he loves basketball. That just gives us another thing to connect with. And then my daughter, she's into sports. She plays tennis. She doesn't play basketball, but she's getting into tennis. So we do a lot of little workout stuff. And I'm always trying to, and I need to work on my core. So with tennis, I'm always trying to get her to strengthen her core. So we connect with working out, me and my daughter, tennis. And then me and my son, we connect more with just basketball. So it's been great.
And most importantly, are you still listening to your wife, Tiffany?
Yeah, man, happy life, happy wife, happy life or whatever. But no, my wife is great, man. She hasn't left me. We've been together since.
I hear you. On my side as well. I'm grateful for that.
Since we were 21. I met her when I was 21, about to be 22, and got married at 31 or 31 and a half. And, she's still here. So I don't know. For whatever reason, she loves me. She won't leave. And I consider myself extremely lucky and blessed for that.
How much you come back to Philly?
There's thoughts. I always get back. I still have family there, so I go and I check in on my aunts and see all my cousins or whatever. We either do something Memorial Day, Labor Day, then the holidays and birthdays. So I'm in Philly quite often, but it's just in and out. I don't know if I'll get back there to live, maybe one day, but for right now, the foothold's still in San Antonio, and I'm living in North Jersey right now.
Anything on the bucket list career-wise that you're thinking about that you could disclose before anybody? It's just you and me talking.
Just me and you, right?
You're not going to run for office or anything, right?
No, I'm always going to be around this game, man. I've been fortunate enough to be able to call basketball a job since early high school, and I don't see that changing.
Malik, it's been a minute, my friend, but some time well spent. Thank you so much for being with us on Fresh 24, and let's not make it so long next time.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Zoo, man. Love you, brother.
Love you back. Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of Fresh 24. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Check out our friends over at Philadelphia Sports Nation, a local Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs and social media. PHLSportsNation.com. Philadelphia Sports Nation. PHL Sports Nation. Enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience.